This tutorial is going to go into more detail on making embroidery text. To create a text object inside of the EasyGem software, you just need to have a vector line to apply it to. To make a perfectly straight vector line inside of Corel, just use your Bezier tool. Click once, hold down the Control button on your keyboard, and click a second time. Now you have a perfectly straight line. Then I can just click on my text tool. Then you'll see in the Action App's object properties that all of our text options become available to us. Your text is going to follow this vector line that you laid down, so it doesn't necessarily need to be a straight line. You can see that even if I have a curvy line, it's still going to apply text to it. But I just want to show you how to create the perfect flat line, since that's probably what you'll be using most of the time. So here on my side menu is where I can change my text. I'm going to go ahead and change it to Action. We can change the font. It changes automatically. I can change the size here by typing in the height in millimeters manually and then hitting apply. Or within CorelDRAW, I can just use my normal pick tool and scale it up and down using my corner squares here. I can also over here add an envelope to this, and it will arc this. I chose a bridge top, so now this is arced. So that's how we can go ahead and add text onto here. We have another drop down menu that becomes available to us for text, which is our text connections. These settings allow you to adjust the connections between the letters. You can choose where and how trims are going to be applied. Right now the trims are set for 3 millimeters. What this means is that if this gap is larger than 3 millimeters, then a trim will automatically be applied. And you can see that has happened in between all of my letters here. So let's go ahead and choose a script font and see if we get anything different. So see here, I have my text connections still set at 3 millimeters. There was a trim applied here, but where my text, each letter is coming up on each other, then there was no trims applied. There is one right here though too. Not here. So it's automatically applying them wherever there's more than 3 millimeters between the start and stop. I can choose to never trim if I wanted to, or always trim. Never trim would obviously put no trims in between my letters. Always trim is going to put trims between every single letter, no matter how close or far apart that they are. This is also where I have lock stitch options in here. Lock stitches are small bunches of stitches that would be applied just before a trim to prevent the stitches from coming undone. However, the lock stitches are actually only available for 2 different fonts. They are available for Chopsticks and Evening News. Then if we come back over to my text connections, I can actually choose my lock stitch type, choose basic, and there you can see that's my little lock stitch. It's like a little bow tie. A line lock stitch is just a line of stitches going back and forth, and you can choose your lock stitch length. So in addition to the regular text tool in the EasyStitch software, we also have the 3-letter monogram. It's called a 3-letter monogram, but it actually will work for monograms for 1, 2, or 3 letters. I'm just going to go ahead and lay down another straight vector line here. Click on my monogram tool. The center letter is always going to be the larger one with the 2 small letters on the side. Under text, I can adjust my monograms letters here. I can adjust the fonts. Under my monogram drop-down menu here, this height percentage, this is how it's adjusting the height differences between the middle letter and the 2 outer ones. So I can actually change this here. If I change that to 25%, they become really small. Here I can change it to 75%. It becomes much larger. So that's where I can adjust this. You'll see I have this spot here for decorations. This is only going to work for my monogram specific fonts. Let's go back to my text. Under fonts, I have two monogram specific fonts. Monogram 2 is like a cursive-y one. You can see it's actually a special shape for this. We can see it more clearly in our monogram 1. So see how it creates an additional shape. It's not just one letter and with two smaller ones. It actually creates this little six-sided shape here. If I come under my monogram settings here, my height, this percentage no longer applies because it is a monogram specific tool. It's always going to be this shape, but I have this place for decorations. On your Easy Stitch CD, you will have a PDF file of all of these different codes for different monogram embellishments. So for monogram 1 font, which is what I'm using right here, these would apply for whether you have a 2, 3 letter or 1 letter monogram. You can just insert these little symbols. These are for monogram 2, they will be completely different. So I'm using monogram 1 font. I have a 3-letter design, so I could use this little asterisk to get this square. I could use the semicolon to get this little stop sign shape. A question mark will give me these little triangles. I have this one right here, a couple more. So I have a bunch of different options depending on which ones I'm going to use. So let's say we really like this one here, which is the question mark. So in my decoration space, I just apply a question mark and it puts that little design on the side. So that's how we can get all those cool monogram decorations. Now let's go ahead, I'm going to show you how to put text on a circle. So to create a circle text, you just choose your ellipse tool inside of CorelDRAW. I'm going to drag and make an ellipse from my upper left to my lower right. If I hold down Control, it's a perfect circle. If I don't, then it can be an ellipse. Then I just click on my text tool and it applies text on my circle. See? If I want to apply text to the bottom part of a circle, then instead of drawing my circle from the upper left to the lower right, I actually draw it from the lower left to the upper right. Then when I click on the text, now it's on the lower part of the circle. You can see though, I will need to adjust my spacing of my text when it's on the lower part of the circle here. There's a couple ways I can do this. One is I could actually add a space, an extra space in between every single one of my letters. That creates a nice look. Or I could, let me go ahead and delete that, get back to where we were. I can apply kerning using my greater than or less than symbols. Oops, that's a less than. So if I use the greater than symbol in between two letters and hit apply, see how it moved those further apart? These are really small changes though, so you'd have to add a lot of these symbols in order to get a difference, but you can absolutely do that. The other way that you could change the letters is with our text edit tool. Don't forget about this toolbar up here. Click on that, it gives me these yellow beads. Here I can physically slide each letter over to exactly where I want it. So when you put text on the bottom of a circle, a lot of times you will have this strange squished look to it, but there's several ways to avoid having the letters look like they're all sewn on top of each other. And so those are the various ways that you can do text inside of the Easy Stitch software.